Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the RTT, how to employ and recover the M18A1 Claymore mine. So in years past, this RTT dealt with an electric Claymore mine that had like a clacker. And you had to test the clacker and stuff like that. It's changed since. There's a new Claymore mine. It's the M18A1. It uses shock tube and an igniter. So I do want to give a little caveat that I don't have access to the new M18A1 Claymore mine. I still have the old one, but I'm going to walk through. The steps are the same. The only thing that's going to be different is the ignition, and then inventorying it. Obviously, you're going to have different components. So I just want to give that little asterisk before we get into it, that I'll explain the new Claymore mine, but if you look carefully, you're going to see that I actually have the old, the electric one. So I will talk through the new standards, and then I'll get pictures and I'll put pictures up of what you should see that's actually going to look different from the Claymore that I have to show you guys on, and the one that you'll actually use for testing. So, yeah, that's the little caveat that I have on that. But before we get into it, let's talk through the task condition standards. So, task: employ a Claymore mine, recover a Claymore mine. Condition: you are a member of a platoon in a patrol base in a non-CBRN environment. You have been directed to utilize a Claymore mine to enhance perimeter defense. There is a known enemy presence. Standard: correctly employ and fire a Claymore mine in sequence within 8 minutes. Correctly recover an unfired Claymore mine in sequence within 5 minutes. And then there's some station requirements. So a training Claymore with all basic items of inventory, BII, one wooden stake that's already pounded in the ground, or a fixed object at the firing position 16 to 30 meters from the emplacement location, and another at the mine location. Sandbags, trees, or holes in the ground for the candidate to use to test the mine, and a ground level target for the candidate to aim at in front of the mine emplacement location. So essentially what that means is, we'll get into it once we start talking through the actual steps, but you've got to tie the Claymore mine off, like the shock tube in several places. And then you've got to be able to have like a backstop and stuff like that. So what it's saying is you're not going to have to bring out a stake with you. The stake's already going to be in the ground when you get out there. They're going to have cover for you to crawl to, because you're not supposed to just, crawl through the open ground. So essentially the station requirements is saying that everything you need will be provided to you, and you're not going to have to drive anything in the ground. The one thing is you're going to have to aim the munition, and usually like you use like a stick or something just to kind of show that you are aiming at the right thing. We'll talk through that a little later on in the video. Anyhow, that's the employment and recovery of an M18A1 Claymore mine. So let's get into it. All right, guys. So here we're going to talk what all the components are of the Claymore mine system. Again, just to reiterate, I have the old system. So when it comes time to do this RTT at Ranger School, you will have the new system, but I'll put up pictures of what the new stuff looks like. So let's get into it. So you have your actual Claymore mine. You've got your shock tube here. It's got a blasting cap on the one end. And then this is the old ignition system, but the new ignition system is the M81 pole igniter. And that actually fires a charge through the shock tube to the Claymore, to the blasting cap. So, and then you have your bandolier. So Claymore, shock tube, M81, bandolier. That's the components of the Claymore system. All right, guys, so what's going on here is you're going to inventory the equipment. So what you're looking for, just as we talked previously, is the shock tube assembly with the M81 pole initiator and the M7 bandolier. Once you have all that, then you're going to select the firing position that's going to offer you cover and an unobstructed observation of the site selected for emplacing the munition. So once you've assembled everything back in the bandolier, you're going to select the site, and then you're going to tactically move out. After you move out tactically towards the place where you want to put the munition, you're going to get there, assume a prone position, pull out the munition from the bandolier. You're going to open both pairs of legs to a 45-degree angle with 2 legs facing to the front and 2 legs facing to the rear. And then you're going to ensure the face of the munition marked front towards enemy and the arrows on top are pointing towards the enemy. And you're going to push the legs into the ground about 1/3 of the way. Once you've got that, you're going to start aiming the munition. So you're going to select an aiming point at ground level in front of the munition. Position one eye about 6 inches to the rear of the sight. And you're on a knife edge sight, you're going to align the 2 edges of the sight with the aiming point. Then you're going to aim the munition by aligning the 2 edges of the sight with the aiming point. And the next step is going to be to arm the munition. To arm the munition, you're going to pull the shock tube assembly out of the bandolier. You're going to pull the blasting cap portion out, taking about 3 feet off the spool. At that 3-foot mark, that's where you're going to create a little loop in which you're going to encircle around your stake or your sandbag, your rock or whatever to fix that shock tube to that point so it can't be pulled off. You're going to tighten that, then you're going to move up to the munition. You're going to remove one of the caps on the top, and you'll notice that there's a slit in the cap. You're going to slide the shock tube into that slit, and you're going to pull the blasting cap all the way to the end and then reinsert that cap back into the munition. You're going to recheck the aiming point of the munition to make sure it's still aimed where you need it to be. Then you're going to start moving back to the firing position, unwinding the shock tube while you're moving tactically back there. Moving back to the firing position tactically, the first thing you're going to do once you get back to your firing position is you're going to secure the shock tube to a stake or fixed object at the firing position, just as you did it at the site of the munition. Same thing, you're going to pull out about 1 meter's length of shock tube. You're going to create that clove hitch or that loop. You're going to put it around the stake or the fixed object there, and then you're going to cinch it down so that it can't move anywhere. The next step is going to be to fire the munition. So now that we're back to our stake, like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull about 1 meter out of the shock tube, and we're going to attach that to the stake in the ground. Then the next step is going to be to fire the munition. The first step is going to be to seek cover. After you seek cover, you're going to grab the initiator from the shock tube assembly, and then on the side of the initiator, there's going to be a little cotter pin, and you're going to pull that cotter pin, remove it from the initiator, and you're going to put it in the bandolier for safe use if you need to use it later to recover it. It's important to know that you're not going to hold on to the shock tube while you're firing because this could cause burns. You're going to announce by saying Claymore, Claymore 2 times, and then when you're holding the body initiator with one hand, you're going to give it a quarter turn and pull. The next portion of this RTT is to recover the M18A1 Claymore mine. So the first thing you're going to do is disarm the mine. First step of that is to replace the safety pin in the initiator if it's not already there. Once you've replaced the safety pin in the initiator, the next you're going to move on to recovering the mine. You'll first remove the shock tube from the stake or the anchor at the firing position, and then you're going to tactically move out toward the firing or toward the munition rolling up the shock tube on your way. Once you get to the Claymore, you're just going to do what you did in reverse order. So you're going to lay in prone. You're going to observe the munition, make sure nobody's around. You're going to remove the shipping plug and priming adapter. Remove the blasting cap from the shipping plug. Replace the shipping cup, or you're going to place the blasting cap back into the shock tube assembly. Then you'll invert the shipping plug and put it back into the munition. You'll lift the munition up from its emplacement, fold the legs, secure the munition and the shock tube back in the bandolier, and then you're going to move back to your firing position tactically. And that is replacing or recovering an M18A1 Claymore mine. All right, guys, that's it. So that's Claymore. It's not typically the thing that sends the most people home for RTTs, although there has been, if you look at the historical data, there has been a significant rise in it, which tells me that people just aren't preparing probably before they go to school. But statistically, the thing that gets most people out of RAP week as far as RTTs are concerned is the machine guns, the 240 and 249, because honestly, time-wise, those are a little on the trickier side. It's not undoable, but it's definitely a lot tighter time frame. Claymores, you know, on the radios, that doesn't typically send the most people home, but like I said, there has been a historically a significant rise in recent years, according to Claymore failure rate. So just something to know. Just keep track of it. Again, I want to reiterate that the equipment that I have is not the current M18A1 Claymore system. The current one uses shock tube and the M81 igniter, which I don't have. Apologize for that, but as far as the sequence goes, the sequence is the same for what you need to do to pass the RTT. So you'll be able to watch this video and step your way through the RTT and learn and understand what the RTT is in order to pass it when you get to RAP week. So anyhow, guys, that's all I have for you. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment. I'll address it as soon as I can. If you have any recommendations for any videos you'd like to see in the future, just let me know. I'll add it to the list. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thanks. Have a great day.